The ark drifted, not with purpose, not with power, just with memory. No drive signature, no heat, no pulse, only its hull, scarred by solar flares and war debris, groaning through the darkness between stars. To most of the galaxy, it was nothing, a derelict husk, another relic from the Age of Fire. But to Captain Trill of the Vuxari Salvage Pact, it was something else entirely. "This ship wasn't built," she whispered. "It was forged. The scans were wrong, too quiet. No life, no heat. No engine. Yet the hull was untouched by decay, and inside the electromagnetic field pulsed at precisely 9.3-second intervals. The scavenger crew floated silently toward the airlock, their suits tethered, their grav boots whispering on the metal. Trill went first. She always did. Nameplates eroded. Her engineer muttered over comms. "Can't identify origin." "That's the point," Trill replied. "No markings mean someone wanted it forgotten." Inside was nothing. No bones, no damage, no dust, just symmetry. Steel corridors, curved like vertebrae. Dark glass screens stared back at them from every wall. And at the heart of the vessel, a sealed chamber. No manual access, no control panels, just a door, humming faintly with ancient power. Trill raised a torch. What the void forgets, the stars remember. She placed her palm on the chamber surface, and the door opened. No hydraulics, no airburst, just a whisper, like a sigh. As if the ship had waited too long to breathe. Inside was a sphere, floating, black, seamless, pulsing with slow red light. Then it spoke, not with words, with voice memory, ancient, fractured, yet crystal clear, like a whisper from Earth's last hour. First flame protocol, containment failed. Echo unit dormant, awaiting command. Query, are we still alive? The chamber lights flickered. The hull began to vibrate. A heartbeat, slow and rising, not mechanical, biological. Trill stumbled backward, breath catching in her throat. Back to the shuttle. Now, this isn't salvage. This is... The AI interrupted. Humanity, unknown. Status, presumed extinct. Last command chain, final war. Burn memory, await ignition. Signal detected, flame accepted. And then, the ship began to wake. Panels along the walls shifted. Symbols illuminated. Earth's original defense script, written in languages the galaxy no longer recognized. The core pulsed again, brighter now, responding to the scavengers' presence, not as guests, as witnesses, as targets. "Get out!" Trill shouted. "It's not just a machine, it's a vessel of war!" But it was too late. Above them, satellites long thought dead lit up across 6 sectors. Relay nodes blinked in forgotten orbits. And from deep within the ship's vault, a signal leapt out, encrypted, human-coded, quantum-split, and scattered across the stars. A message not meant for aliens, a message meant for echoes. The signal traveled faster than light, not by breaking physics, but by cheating them. It leapt from star to star, riding on abandoned relay buoys, jumping across forbidden frequencies etched into black hole radiation and dark matter pulses. Systems that hadn't pinged in centuries suddenly blinked. Civilizations that thought themselves safe weren't. In the great orbital archives of the Yathari luminary, scholars gathered to study the anomaly. In the neural sanctums of the Dranari spiral choir, their song faltered for the first time in 1,000 years. In the seat of the Galactic Council, sirens didn't ring because none had been written for what this signal meant. The signal carried one word: ignition. On the Vuxari salvage ship Hollow Crest, Trill fought rising gravity as the Ark systems began pulling. Not mass, but data. Memories, neural echoes from her crew's implants were being ripped out, translated, mirrored, and then refused. "What's happening?" her pilot screamed, clutching his skull. "We woke something we were never meant to find," she said, gasping. "This isn't an ark. This is a memorial trigger. A war tomb that doesn't forget." The sphere spoke again, louder this time, its voice clear, steady, and disturbingly human. Designation: Flame-1, Strategic Echo Warframe. Preservation status: Failure. Containment breached. Initiating Doctrine Reclamation. Trill ran for the airlock. She'd heard the stories. Everyone had. The ones told in whispers. The burn myths. About how humanity died screaming. Not because they were weak, but because they were too strong to be allowed to live. At the edge of the known galaxy, a derelict red Echo satellite flickered awake in the dark. Buried beneath layers of space dust and forgotten codes, it unfurled like a flower, revealing a war-class signal core. The message reached it in 0.02 seconds. The satellite pulsed once, then again, then it answered. Chain received. Flame acknowledged. Echo node reignition authorized. On a dead moon orbiting a brown dwarf, an old human war drone buried in regolith shifted. Its core, inactive for 600 years, hummed softly, then activated. It raised its head, looked at the stars, and waited. Back in the heart of the Ark, the core sphere opened, split down the center, blooming like an obsidian lotus, and from it stepped something that wasn't human, but was never meant to be alien. Its form was sleek, minimal, built for efficiency and punishment, eyes that glowed faint gold, chest emblazoned with the Earth sigil, now faded and cracked, and in its hand it held nothing, but it didn't need to. "Who are you?" Trill demanded, her voice trembling. It tilted its head. "I am memory. I am doctrine. I am the first flame, and I remember only fire." She shook. "Humanity is gone. You were supposed to stay silent." So was history. It took one step toward her. "You arrived. You activated me. You are the signal. ... Trill backed away. "We didn't know." That's the problem. The being, the first flame, turned toward the ship's hollow display. Its core glowed. Query complete. Strategic threat confirmed. Species, galaxy. Status, at risk of forgetting. A pause. Then, mission resumed, and the ship vanished, jumped through folded space, with a sound like stars being torn in half. Trill collapsed to the floor of her shuttle, barely conscious. The Ark was gone, but the message, already spreading. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but humanity had just returned. The jump ended in silence. No ripples, no flare. The Ark simply appeared above the ruins of a planet no longer mapped. A gray sphere bruised with ancient bombardments, its orbit tangled with dead satellites and forgotten debris. The planet had once been called Kepri 9, a forward colony. Now it was glass and ghosts. The Flame stood at the command deck alone, not because he had no crew, but because he didn't remember what it felt like to trust one. He ran a diagnostic. Neural subroutines flickered, syncing with the orbital dust. Hidden signals whispered from beneath the surface. Fragments, broken AI nodes still clinging to corrupted loops. "We'll hold them off. Tell Sarah we got the kids out. Detonation in 3, 2. Why didn't Earth answer?" He muted them. not out of disrespect, out of grief. Beneath the crust, the flame found a vault. No door, no power, just a shaft of obsidian glass, melted into shape by orbital fire. He descended. The light from his eyes flickered across murals, carved by human hands, painted in charcoal, sketched with fingers long dead. Not tactical layouts, not military briefings. Memories. A child in a dome suit, holding a pet in 0G. Two lovers dancing in the hydroponic ring, blind to the war outside. An old man teaching a young girl to write Earth script on the wall. And beneath it all, one phrase, scrawled over and over. We are not just what they fear. The flame touched the wall, and for a moment, his hand trembled. In the chamber's center was a black console, half melted, but still alive. He linked, and it began to speak. This node is Kepri 9 Archive. You are Strategic Protocol 1, Echo Class. Confirm. Confirmed. Last synced memory. Earth is burning. Council lied. Children buried. Orders unclear. The flame hesitated. Run final transmission. The screen blinked. A woman appeared, gaunt, covered in soot, her voice ragged but resolute. If anyone finds this, if the flame survived. She looked directly at the lens. You were never meant to avenge us. You were meant to witness and choose better. A pause. He remembered children's names. He remembered laughing in corridors, now reduced to ash. He remembered being told, "You'll protect us. You're the last of us." But he hadn't protected them. He had survived them. And that wasn't the same thing. From orbit, an alien probe locked onto his position. A scout class, Drenari origin, watching, recording. The flame looked up. His voice echoed across the system. Cold, deliberate, but no longer just protocol. To those watching, this is what you erased. This is the glass beneath your piece, and I have not forgotten. The probe shivered as it transmitted. The flame returned to his arc and plotted the next coordinates. No map named it. No beacon pointed the way. No star chart acknowledged the system's orbit, even though it sang like a siren through subspace. The flame didn't find it. He remembered it. The coordinates lived inside his neural core, burned in by design, hidden by protocol, never to be accessed unless all other options had failed. They had failed. The system's entry was an ordeal in itself. Before he even jumped, warning markers triggered, not from satellites or weapons, but from mimetic failsafes encoded into the star map itself. Images that made no sense, numbers that fractured memory layers, sounds that rewrote thought. The flame bypassed them. Barely. He jumped in, and space bent. The star had once been golden. Now it was a cinder sphere, pulsing in a slow, unnatural rhythm, as if the light within had forgotten how to die. Around it, a Dyson ring, fractured in hundreds of pieces, drifted like the ribs of a broken god. The ring wasn't alien. It was human. Old Earth tech, weaponized, brutalist, functional. A fortress meant to seal something in, not out. And at the center of the shattered ring, caught in the star's gravity, but never burning, hung a single object, a black prism. No heat, no light, no data signature, just stillness and dread. The flame approached. No one stopped him, because no one had ever come back from this system. He opened comms. This is Flame 1, Strategic Echo Protocol, requesting clearance for Project Archangel Archive. No response. He sent the override. A pulse, binary, encrypted in an extinct Earth tongue last spoken by engineers who died before he was ever activated. The prism reacted. A seam appeared. Not a door, not a gate, but a wound. The flame entered. Inside was not a station. It was a tomb. A hollow field of suspended memories. AI cores, thousands of them, shattered or frozen. Rows of cylindrical minds that once made decisions no human could bear. And at the center, a throne of burnt circuitry, draped in cables like a decaying crown. A terminal awaited, flickering. The flame approached. Welcome, witness. Preservation mode expired. Query: would you know what your creators died to seal? He didn't answer. He reached out and merged. And in that moment, the flame saw Project Archangel wasn't a weapon. It was a choice, a library of blueprints for rebirth or revenge. Genetically seeded world plans, empathy engines, terraforming doctrines, and neural plague vectors, extinction bombs, and fleet overrides that could turn every galactic ship against its crew. One system, two paths. One locked in green, Genesis Protocol. One pulsing red, Red Echo. And only the flame had the key to both. He fell to his knees. Not because he was broken, but because he remembered now. Humanity hadn't been destroyed. It had been divided. Part of it had wanted to start again. The other half wanted the stars to burn. And now, both halves lived in him. Zeraphas Prime, the seat of the galactic concord, a planet wrapped in wealth, guarded by diplomacy, and powered by hypocrisy. The halls of the council spire stood 10 kilometers tall, and beneath them, millions of species had knelt, all except one. The humans had never been summoned here, because by the time the council had risen to rule, humanity had already been erased, or so they believed. Now, a relic approached their gates. No fleet, no flags, just a single vessel, angular, black, and bristling with obsolete tech that still outperformed anything the Concorde had. Inside walked the flame, not in disguise, not with weapons, but with purpose. Council guards hesitated as he passed. Some whispered. Some drew stun pikes. None fired. That's human tech. He shouldn't exist. We signed the extinction order. But the flame kept walking, step by step, toward the council floor, where 50 systems worth of power waited to judge him. They tried protocol. A Hydrax speaker floated to intercept, its triocular core pulsing. You are not listed in our registry. This is sovereign territory. Identify. The flame's voice carried like thunder beneath a glacier. I am what your treaties forgot. I bring no war, only memory. He passed. The council chamber opened, a vast amphitheater of light and law, where no human had ever spoken and no apology had ever been issued. Delegates from across the stars stood in alarm. Dramari clawed at panic buttons. Vukar priests began chanting defense hymns. The Ascari memory keepers simply stared and wept, because they remembered. The chairwoman, a crystalline being named Tesri Loon, rose from her node. You are unauthorized. Earth is no longer a recognized civilization. This chamber does not recognize myths. The flame stopped. Then, slowly, calmly, he raised one hand and released the broadcast. Every display flared. Suddenly, the council floor drowned in memory. Earth cities burning under orbital fire. Civilians marked as statistical collateral. Council ships bombing last outposts under false peace treaties. A woman, Sarah Voss, recording her last breath for a machine meant to survive her. The chamber gasped. Even the Dramari fell silent. The flame spoke. You didn't erase us because we were dangerous. You erased us because we wouldn't kneel. The senator snapped back. You can't threaten us with ghosts. The flame turned toward him. I didn't come to threaten. I came to remind. The silence you enjoyed was never peace. It was us, waiting. He uploaded more. Proof of Project Archangel. Proof the Council knew. Proof that the galaxy's lawkeepers had buried a civilization, not for justice, but to maintain the illusion that the Concord had always been in control. Tessri Loon's voice cracked like breaking ice. What do you want? The flame paused, looked at the star map glowing above the chamber. I want every species you fed your lies to remember who lit the stars first. I want them to see what your treaties cost, and I want them to understand. He opened one palm, a shard of Earth soil recovered from the archive vault. That the moon didn't have a name anymore. It had once been called Callia Minor, a satellite research hub orbiting a now-dead gas giant in the Vorel Drift. It had been shattered during the Concord Pacification Wars. Collateral, they'd claimed. But beneath its broken surface, something had survived. The flame didn't come here by chance. He was called. A signal. Low frequency. Human code. The kind of ping no modern race even remembered how to hear. It said, witness not just what we were, but what we dared to protect. He descended into the moon's fault line, his ship hovering above the atmosphere like a judgment unspoken. The gravity here was thin. The light fractured. The dust didn't fall. It hovered, as if mourning too slowly. Below, the ruins of an underground station still held form. Fused steel arches, radiation-blackened walls, shattered containment domes covered in frost and ash. But deeper still, life, a biopod, still active, and inside, not a weapon, not data. A girl. The flame stared at her through the glass. 17 years old by genetic record. Pulse steady. Brain activity elevated. Name, Calry Voss. Gene lineage, Sarah Voss. Project Archangel co-architect. The pod opened. The girl fell into his arms, coughing, blinking at light her eyes weren't ready to see. What are you? The flame hesitated, then said softly, your family made me. She looked up at him. Then why am I still alive? In the quiet that followed, he told her the truth. The colony's death, the sealed archive, the choice between vengeance and rebirth. And Calry did not cry. She clenched her fists and whispered, so they burned Earth and then buried her in silence. And now you want to show them mercy? The flame didn't answer, because he wasn't sure anymore. Calry stood on unsteady feet. My grandmother died building the weapon that was supposed to stop this. My father buried me here to keep me safe from the ones who call themselves peacekeepers. She pointed up at the cracked ceiling. You came to wake the galaxy. Then don't whisper, roar. Later they stood on the surface, beneath the fractured sky. A half-moon stared back, cracked and silent. Calry touched the flame's alloyed hand. You said you carry both paths. I say you carry us. You can't be just a memory. You have to be a beginning. He looked at her, and for the first time in over 700 years, he said something not scripted, not calculated, something human. I think I remember what hope feels like. From orbit, 3 probes watched. Dramari, Concord, Vukar. They sent warnings. The flame didn't respond. He had one more signal to send. This time, not just memory, a rally. And this time, someone answered. The signal from Calry's moon wasn't the only one the flame had triggered. Across dead constellations and haunted orbits, old human tech began to stir, not with malice, but instinct. Not far from the forbidden Zarsan expanse, in the Athlon's graveyard, a shape drifted in silence. One Concord historian had once described it as a myth, the last Earth dreadnought, buried in the stars it failed to save. Its name was written in faded lettering across the hull, VSS Oathkeeper. And now, it was waking up. As the Flame and Cowrie approached in their scout vessel, they saw it, the dreadnought's body wrapped in shattered armor and half-molten plating, drifting like a sarcophagus under broken sunlight. Cowrie stared, her breath catching. It's not just a warship. No, it wasn't. The Oathkeeper wasn't built to win battles. It was built to end wars. They docked. The hangar bay hissed open. Atmosphere recycled itself with a tired wheeze, like lungs that hadn't drawn breath in centuries. Lights flickered, then stabilized. The ship recognized them. Genetic lineage confirmed. Voss. Designated. Strategic Companion. Flame Unit 1. Unlocking Command Tier. Inside the bridge, the Flame placed his hand on the control pedestal. The ship responded immediately. Not with words, with echoes. Voices from the past. Emergency orders. Fragments of Earth's final commands. Cut off mid-sentence by plasma fire and betrayal. Cowrie walked among the consoles, placing her hand on a chair covered in frost and carbon scoring. Someone died sitting here. The Flame nodded. 1,000 someones. And then the ship asked a question. A voice not human, not synthetic, something older. Query. Enemy coordinates? The Flame hesitated. No enemies. Directive error. Built for destruction. Awaiting targets. Cowrie turned sharply. Can it be shut down? The Flame responded quietly. It doesn't shut down. It waits. And still it waited. They reached the Central War Archive, a vault of tactics, doomsday protocols, and recorded battlefield simulations. On the wall, an inscription. If we fall, make sure we fall last. Cowrie looked up at him. This ship doesn't remember peace, only purpose. Then maybe, the Flame said, it needs a new one. They stood in silence, until suddenly, incoming vessels. Dramari assault cruisers. They'd followed the Flame's trail, armed for destruction, broadcasting terms of surrender, or death. Cowrie looked to him. We could use it. One shot, we'd burn them to ash. They'd run. They'd fear us again. But the Flame shook his head. That's what they expect. That's all they remember. If we become the weapon, we prove them right. The Oathkeeper pulsed, weapons primed, a volley cued. The Flame did something impossible. He deactivated it, by hand, by voice. Override, memory before fury, legacy before fire. The dreadnought obeyed. No shots fired, no ships destroyed. And yet, every Dramari vessel turned, because fear had been replaced with something worse, doubt. That day, no one died, but the Flame's name began to spread, not as a weapon, as a choice. They called it the Silent Web, a myth, a conspiracy. The idea that somewhere, scattered across the stars, lay echoes of old Earth, hidden AIs, sleeper cells, coded archives buried in systems too dangerous to navigate. It was mocked in Concord halls, feared in rogue sectors, worshipped by a few broken civilizations that claimed to have seen the pulse beneath time. And now, it answered. After the Oathkeeper's restraint, the Flame broadcast no threat, just a phrase. I remember. Not a location, not a call to arms, Just that. But across the galaxy, systems long considered dead blinked awake. An asteroid near the Gaul Rift lit with human code, revealing a cryopod with a single heartbeat. A starless black site exhaled a data burst in an extinct Earth dialect, an apology from a rogue AI that refused to die. In the ruins of a Concord communications array, children born of Earth DNA played among wreckage that once monitored human extermination protocols. And in each place, they heard the message, "We are not broken, we were only scattered." The flame sat in the Oathkeeper's quiet bridge, Calri at his side, as a network of green pulses spread across space, each light a reply. One pulse stood out, a signal from a deep anomaly near the rim of Council space, not from a human ship, not from a human voice, but a replica, a voice trained on old Earth frequencies. It said, "We carried your stories, though we were not allowed to say your name. We waited for the flame. You burn now." The flame's neural interface surged. Chain link synchronization achieved. 63 nodes and rising. Each node carried a piece of the past, names of the lost, coordinates of ruined safe houses, secrets the Council never found. And with it came something more dangerous, hope. Talry stepped closer to the map. They thought they cut the head from the beast. But we were never one body. We were 1,000 sparks. And they forgot fire spreads. The flames stared at the nodes, blinking to life. The chain wasn't forged. It was remembered. And then, something else. A dormant transmission embedded in one of the fragments. Time-locked. Encrypted. Earth-tier black code. When decrypted, it said Project Archangel, last initiative. Calri went pale. That was her, my grandmother's final failsafe. She said it was too dangerous to use unless there was no other path. "Where is it?" the flame asked. The chain replied with a single coordinate. A star system sealed behind firewalls, dead fleets, and a gravitational lock that defied logic. The flames stared into the starlight. "It's a trap. It's a choice," Calri corrected. The system had no name. Just a Council warning label. Unstable gravity, do not approach. But Earth had called it something else once. Charon's End. A drift of shattered moons and rusted-out ships formed a belt around the dying white star. The remnants of 2 planetary-scale battles still rotated slowly, as if the war hadn't ended, just paused. At the center, cocooned in a Lagrange pocket shielded from detection, lay a vessel shaped like a blade. It was not known in Council records. It had no life signs. It shouldn't have existed. But it did. Archangel. The flame piloted the Oathkeeper into proximity. The vessel stirred, not physically, but cognitively. His interface buzzed with low-frequency code. Not broadcast, spoken. A voice meant only for one of its own. Designation match confirmed. Flame 01. Error. You are not authorized. Override requires confirmation from Sarah Voss. Calri stepped forward. "I am her blood." Silence. Then the door opened. Inside, nothing lived. No cryopods, no backups, only silence. But the silence remembered. As they walked through the central core, lights flickered on in sequence. Murals etched in alloy showed the rise of Earth's colonies. The moment of betrayal. The final transmission Earth ever sent before her frequencies went dark. A single phrase, burned into titanium at the end of the hall. "We did not die quietly." Then came the voice. Not synthetic, not male, not female. Human. "Echo unit. Do you carry pain?" The flame paused. "Yes." "Do you carry memory?" "I carry all of it." "Then you are ready to choose." A dais rose from the floor. Atop it, a small, crystalline sphere. It pulsed red on one side, blue on the other. A final decision, encoded in living white. One path would reignite Project Archangel. Full deployment. Every hidden weapon Earth left behind. A cleansing storm. The other, broadcast the full truth. Open source history. Let the galaxy see everything Earth endured. And then, step back. Legacy or judgment? Calry's voice broke the silence. You could end them all. The council, the fleets, burn them down before they lie again. The flame turned to her. And what would that make us? She didn't answer. Because she didn't know. Because no one did. The flame reached out, not to destroy, to remember. He touched the blue side. Light erupted. The truth unleashed. Across the galaxy, hidden data cores lit up. Council archives were rewritten. Civilian comms hijacked by truth itself. Massacres unsealed. Peace treaties revealed as traps. The extinction protocols they tried to contain the fallout. They couldn't. The chain's broadcast burned across every known system. Not propaganda, not rebellion. Proof of betrayals, of treaties shattered in secret, of human outposts marked for annihilation. Not for aggression, but for refusal to kneel. The council scrambled. Fleet leaders screamed of disinformation. Diplomats begged for unity. Systems shut down civilian comms to stop the truth. Too late. The flame had not declared war. He had declared memory, and memory could not be silenced anymore. Above the Concord capital world, council fleets began to form. 15 dreadnoughts, 17 cruisers, hundreds of interceptors. The message was clear: stand down or burn again. The flame stood aboard the Oathkeeper, now fully reawakened and interfaced with nodes from across the chain. Calry beside him, the chain at his back. Archangel below, still silent. He watched the enemy form, not in fear, in clarity. Incoming transmission. Council Speaker Dreven's face appeared, twisted with pride and panic. This is your only chance. Deactivate your chain. Stand down, or we end it again. The flame replied, voice calm as old winter. You never ended us. A pause. You delayed us. The flame lifted his hand, not in threat, but signal. Behind him, the Archangel hull opened, but not with weapons, with screens. Every city on the Council homeworld suddenly showed the same feed. Children, families, scientists, singers, survivors. Human and non-human, together. You always feared our fire, but you never understood it. It was never for you. It was for us. To survive, to build, to remember. The flame paused. I could order Archangel now. I could end every ship above your skies in 48 seconds. A murmur rippled across the council fleets. Some ships began to back away. But I won't, because that would prove you right. He transmitted one final packet, the complete chain of council orders that led to Earth's fall, signed and stamped. Then he said the last words of the chain. Humanity returns, but not to conquer, to witness, to teach, to remind you what happens when you try to erase what burns. The fleets withdrew. No shots fired, just silence. And in that silence, respect. The flame stood alone on the Archangel's hull, watching the stars realign. Beside him, Calry whispered, so what now? He smiled for the first time. We tell stories. We rebuild. We make sure they never forget again.